Civil Society and the Challenges of Sustainable Development Paradigm, a Conversation. Introduction. The title of this presentation is Civil Society and the Challenges of Sustainable Development Paradigm, a Conversation, and the author is Professor Dr. Neusholler. The first chapter of the work discusses general introduction and the major assumptions embedded in the work. The second chapter is an overview observation of global reality, while the third chapter explores the initial global effort at arresting environmental challenges. Chapter 4 interrogates the emerging global set pathway to confronting environmental challenges, with emphasis on the loss of biodiversity and timber trade in the tropical forest, equitable sharing of governance from the global to the local levels of society, interrogation of non-arming principle of ontology and property regime in the industrial process milieu, racism, tribalism and gender inequality in the body polity of global community, COVID-19 and global healthcare and international terrorism. Chapter 5 takes on the conversation on the interface of civil society and sustainable development paradigm as panacea for environmental global challenges, while the concluding remark brings the work to an end. Keep tuned to this channel, Environmental Tonic with Professor Dr. Neusholler OP, to enjoy pictorial illustration of each chapter of this wonderful eyes-opener book. Nevertheless, the book is available on Amazon as a bundle publication. Search for it. Knowledge is power. Chapter 1. Global environmental challenges confront the global community more than ever before. These and contemporary economic and socio-political challenges threaten the very core of the ecological system that sustains humanity. These challenges call for radical solutions that must necessarily take place in the context of international system, emerging technologies, sustainable development paradigm and civil society, where the politics of the contemporary world that is complex and complicated finds a home and has come to stay. What does it mean to be human and live in the contemporary world of technology? For the people of faith like Christians, what does it mean to be believers and universal Catholic, and live in the world of global warming? What does it mean to uphold the heritage of the planet as a gift to humanity? These are existential questions that are in people's mind and call for a determination of the attitude that arise from being human and having a new mentality and new consciousness. The planet Earth as a gift to humanity must be protected and sustained, if not for any other reason but for the sake of humankind. It is with this call in mind that the conversation of civil society and sustainable development paradigm as a panacea for confronting environmental challenges in this work is undertaken. From the ecosystem perspective, environmental issues are integrally related to each other and have critical socio-economic and security repercussions. For example, accelerating population growth rates have implications for environmental policies. Higher level of economic development in the north means increased demands for natural resources and energy, while poverty in the south adversely affects the environment, especially in terms of environmental degradation and pollution. The quality of the global commons diminishes as governments and individuals try to meet their needs and degrade spaces through infrastructural schemes and agricultural and industrial practices. The activities that many individuals engage in so as to survive, especially in the developing countries, may no longer be sustainable because they often damage the environment, cause pollution and use up precious resources. The desire for economic growth at any cost, even by some governments, may also lead to unsound decisions which adversely affect the quality of the environment. Environmental issues have not only connection to economics but also to human rights. Schultz 2001, pages 115 to 117, and solidarity, which implies much more than engaging in sporadic acts of generosity. It means thinking and acting in terms of community. It means that the lives of all are prior to the appropriation of goods by a few. It also means combating the structural causes of poverty, inequality, the lack of work, land and housing, the denial of social and labor rights. It means confronting the destructive effects of the empire of money. Pope Francis, 2020, paragraph 90. Climate change, environmental degradation and the integrity of the planet Earth cannot be interrogated outside humanity, the reality that is encapsulated in the term of solidarity. It may also be observed that lack of critical resources poses a threat to a state's security and unsustainable environmental practices because it potentially leads to resource-motivated violence and intrastate and interstate wars. For instance, the search to guarantee supply of non-renewable natural resources such as petroleum motivated Japan's aggression in China and Southeast Asia and the German invasion of the southern Russian oil fields during World War II. The same search fueled conflict in the Caspian Sea basin and the South China Sea. The need for usable water for agricultural productivity and human needs has led to violence between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, neighboring upper riparian states in the Nile Basin, as well as to major disputes in the Middle East over access to the Jordan, Tigris-Euphrates, arid Indus River waters. Peasants living on depleted land create political and economic instability, moving into urban areas or regions inhabited by others, changing the ethnic balance, and causing social unrest and violence. Sometimes those movements advocate the overthrow of established governments in an attempt to get their fair share of usable land and resources. Carnes and Mingst, 2004, 463, soil erosion, deforestation, flooding and hunger burden neighboring states with refugees and in some cases threaten regional peace and stability and may trigger mass migration as the situation in Haiti and Southeast Asia demonstrated. Homer Dixon, 1999, Clare, 2001. Furthermore, it may be affirmed that the planet Earth, which harbors all living and non-living things, is a heritage to all, and whatever happens to it affects all its constituent parts including the international system. Therefore, the planet Earth stands at the center of human activities and therefore must be maintained and protected. Today, climate change and environmental degradation negatively affect and constitute a serious threat to the planet that inhabits the ecosystem as well as humanity. The truth of the matter is that there is no sector of the global community that has not contributed to the problems of environmental abuse in one form or another, because all contribute to the emission of greenhouse gases that are principally responsible for climate change. Flamboyant lifestyle of some individuals and unsustainable socio-economic practices of some states and multinationals also contribute to climate change and environmental degradation. It is this reality that informed the global community to address the challenge of sustainable development for the global citizens. The major fundamental assumptions of this work are international system where world politics finds a home has come to stay and every country in the system is an integral part, thus leading to the emergence of a global village. National interest ideology of nation-states today includes war, as a continuation of policy by other means, and the end of strategy as achieving peace through victory. Finding solutions to the challenges of the international community must necessarily carry along every person, and the approach must be local, national, international and corporate in nature. Sustainable development paradigm is central to finding solutions to global sustainable development program as envisaged by the United Nations. Every nation state needs to domesticate the sustainable development goals, and lastly, there is a general relationship between the goods and services that are produced and consumed globally and the environmental challenges that humanity faces. Except the relationship is radically and sincerely addressed, the objectives of Sustainable Development Goals will be elusive by the year 2030, just like its predecessor. Some concepts are intrinsically integrated with sustainable development discourse, and they need some description and clarification at this initial state of the work in order not to create any digression in the course of analysis of the issue being X-rayed. The following are some of them. Environment. The concept of environment can be comprehended in the words of Ignacio as environment. Ecology and nature are used interchangeably in common parlance to denote the living and non-living components. Environment comes from the French word, environner, which means to encircle or surround. In simple terms, environment means all those components that surround us, influence us and affect us in some way or the other. Ecology is derived from Greek word, oikos, which means house or place in which to live. It refers to the study of living beings, the place in which they live, and the interaction among and between the living and non-living components of the place. Nature comes from the Latin word, natura, which means birth or nature. It refers to the whole universe, physical world, with all the natural phenomena. Both living and non-living components constitute nature. From what we have seen above, it is very clear that all these three terms are complementary to each other. Hence, from now on, when we use the word environment, it will include everything related to environment, ecology and nature. Ignacimathu, 2010, 13. Sustainable development. Over the years, the term sustainable development has turned a common term for numerous development advocates and writers. But, despite the popularity and pervasiveness of the concept, there is value in preserving the distinction of sustainable development as a term when separated as sustainable and development. Mensa 2019 sees development as a social condition that meets the needs of the people within a defined territory while ensuring a sustainable use of the natural resources available at their disposal. Smith and Todaro 2006 affirmed development to mean a multi-dimensional process which involves changes in the social structures, institutions, attitudes, as well as rising economic growth, poverty eradication programs, and reduced inequality. However, sustainability is defined as the capacity and ability to maintain the resources and status available for an entity over a period of time. To Stoddart 2011, sustainability is the efficient distribution of resources intergenerationally and intragenerationally while simultaneously growing the socio-economic outputs within a finite ecosystem. Thomas, 2015 posits that sustainability brings human activities into focus and also evaluating the government's capability to satisfy the needs and wants of its people without exhausting or depleting the productive material and natural resources at their disposal. International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources (IUCN) defines sustainable development as improving the quality of human life while living within the carrying capacity of supporting ecosystems. Trina, 1995.
The complete volume of the chapter of this book is available on Amazon. Kindly subscribe and enjoy the next chapter of this educational documentary series. Thanks for watching and recommendation. Professor Doku Noyeshola, OP.
Link up with Environmental Tonic on YouTube for more environmental hints.